Welcome in everyone to tonight's live stream. It got started a little later than I wanted it to, but we're going ahead and we're going to do this tonight. It's going to be a very fun live stream, and I think it's going to be again a really fun live stream. I'm going to take it in two different segments. We're going to talk about the Rose Bowl being played between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Indiana Hoosiers. We're going to take a small break, read any chats that you guys have to say or questions that you have for me, and then we're going to dive into the Cotton Bowl being played between the Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes. This will actually be the second year that Ohio State has played in the Cotton Bowl, and I think 3 out of the last 5 years that they've played in the Cotton Bowl or something like that. So just making sure that all my settings are correct, and we're going to go ahead and start that. I'm not going to stop in the segments. I'm going to go ahead and just go straight through them because I'm going to cut this up later and post it to the actual channel itself as a standalone video for each of the two segments. So going ahead, I think I'm going to go ahead and start here soon, just as soon as I get everything in order for myself. And I think we're about ready to go. Be sure to hit the like button on this video, on this live stream. If we can get to about 10 to 15 likes, that would be great for the channel. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Again, live comments will be read in between segments and at the end of the show as well, if you have any. All right, so it's a good end point right here. Good start point. Okay, I think that we are ready to go. The Alabama Crimson Tide, coming off of an incredible 17-point comeback win against the Oklahoma Sooners in the first round of the playoffs, traveled to Pasadena, California to play against the number one team in the country, the Big Ten champs, obviously the Indiana Hoosiers, in the Rose Bowl, one of the most historic venues in all of college football. Actually, we're going to go ahead and restart that because I need to switch the scenes really quick. So we're going to go ahead and switch the scene right there. Okay. Go ahead and restart that. The scene is all correct and everything. Okay, that's good. The Alabama Crimson Tide, coming off of an incredible 17-point comeback win against the Oklahoma Sooners in the first round of the playoffs, traveled to beautiful Pasadena, California to play against the number one team in the country, the Big Ten champions, the Indiana Hoosiers, in the Rose Bowl. I find it funny how the Big Ten is hosting. Oh, I'm going to restart. That wasn't great. The Alabama Crimson Tide, coming off of an incredible 17-point comeback win against the Oklahoma Sooners in the first round of the playoffs, traveled to beautiful Pasadena, California to play against the number one team in the country, Big Ten champions, 13-0. Of course, you know who I'm talking about here, the Indiana Hoosiers, in the Rose Bowl. As an aside, I do find it funny how the Rose Bowl is hosting an SEC team, but I digress. It is the the college football world that we live in. Anyways, looking into this matchup, before I go into the nuts and bolts of the matchup, I just really love this matchup chiefly because of the swagger that each team brings to the table and the confidence that each team brings to the table. Alabama is confident and ready to go after their big win against Oklahoma, and likewise, Indiana is and really has been probably the most confident team to step foot on a college football field in this season in America, and really last season as well. Okay, going into the nuts and bolts of it, as you guys can see, I have the graphic and everything lined up for you guys here. We're gonna, in this preview, and in all my previews going forward, we're gonna be talking about everything in the same format. We're gonna go key storylines for the game, key player matchups, uh, my positional power rankings. Sorry, I lost my place. My positional power ratings, both on offense and on defense. And then my prediction is at the end of the video. So, first, I want to get into the key storylines for this game between the Crimson Tide and the Hoosiers. As you can see on your screen I already have it pulled up for you guys, and you guys have at least already read it. So we're going to go through each one, and I'm going to chiefly preview each one for you guys and just kind of put these thoughts into your head. First one, can Alabama at least have okay special teams? Last game against Oklahoma, they won because of the splash plays, and a couple of those splash plays were on special teams, and they made the game. The blocked punt, the key field goals, flipping the field and playing the field position game when applicable. Over the whole season, really though, Bama has been less than ideal when it comes to special teams. Let's just say that they have put it together to a decent degree against Oklahoma, but can they do it against Indiana? We'll see. Second storyline here, can Indiana keep their foot on the gas? The Hoosiers cruised through the season undefeated with a great win at Oklahoma, and then they went and faced adversity against Ohio State, and what did they do? They came out with their biggest win of the season, ended up beating them close, 13-10 victory. My question to Indiana is, can they keep up the intensity? Can they keep up the fire that they have played with all season long? Because when you win a crap ton, the tendency is to relax, maybe take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit. My guess is that Coach Signetti won't let that happen, but it is something to look out for. I mean, you think back to Oregon last season. They beat Ohio State in a marquee matchup in the regular season. They went and they won a close game in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State, and then they came out and they got just absolutely torn to shreds in the um, in the second round of the playoffs against Ohio State last season. Eventually, Ohio State went on and won the whole thing. So it is something to look out for. Am I saying that Indiana and is going to repeat what Oregon did last year? No, I'm not saying that, but it is something to look out for. And you never know. Storyline number 3, can Bama run the ball at all? Yes, I know Bama passes it a ton and they win by only passing pretty much most of the time. But Bama is truly I think, the worst team in the country at running the ball. Don't believe me? They're 131st in total rushing in America. There's only check that, 3 teams who are worse than them at running the ball, and those are probably in the G5. Their highest rushing totals in every SEC game this year, you may ask, 43, 11, 83, 60, 21, 26, 34, 85, 136, and 25. And the 136 number, that's pretty typical of most teams on average per game. And that's their highest one, and it really is an anomaly when you look at the whole of uh, their rushing totals. But I digress. It is terrible. It's abysmal, and you guys get that by now. Even though they have talented backs and a talented offensive lineman, which we will get to as the video progresses, they just can't run the ball efficiently. I don't know why it doesn't match up, because they have these great players, but it just doesn't match up. And when you pair it with how stout Indiana is on defense, specifically the front seven of Indiana's defense, it does not bode well for the Tide. But I will say this, if they can rush for even 70-ish yards, they can turn this game drastically. If Jam Miller can rush for 75 yards, I think that is a really, really good sign that Alabama's going to win this game. And then going into the fourth storyline here, can Indiana stay turnover free? This could really easily be rephrased as, can Bama create key turnovers? One of the main reasons that Bama beat Oklahoma was that they got the key pick six to swing the momentum completely on Bama's side. The main reason, in my opinion, that Bama has played so well this season with a tough schedule is because they have been able to create so many turnovers, so many takeaways. On the other side, Mendoza has only 6 interceptions thrown all season, and I might add, is very resilient after throwing a pick. Think back to the Oregon game, think back to the Ohio State game, etc. Although I won't go into that right now. If Bama can get at least 2 takeaways in this game, I think they have an excellent chance of moving on in the playoffs. And now we move to the player storylines here for this game. Um, Really, I have 3 key player or unit matchups that we need to look out for in this game. Number 1, watch out for how Indiana's offensive line holds up against Bama's D line. Indiana's offensive line finished in the top 3 for the Joe Moore Award, the award awarded to the nation's best offensive line, and they have played elite this season. You look at Khalil Benson with a 72.7 PFF grade over 730 snaps this season. Plus, Pat Coogan at center highlights this elite offensive line. Bama's D-line, I think, is a big strength for them. DT London Simmons leads the pack with a 70.9 PFF grade. LT Overton's got 4 sacks and 34 tackles, and Keon Keeley has 3 sacks as well. These players highlight how big and bad this defensive line is. If Bama's D-line can fend off IU's O-line and not let them command the game, then that gives Bama a huge edge, in my opinion. Number 2 on this key players, what have you, Mendoza versus Bama's secondary. Like I said before, Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner for this year, has only thrown 6 interceptions all year. His TD to interception ratio is 38-6, just amazing. Likewise, as we have talked about, they produce a bunch of takeaways. Bama's secondary produces a ton of takeaways. So, can they force Mendoza's hand and then fluster him into an interception or two is the big question in this game for me. And the third matchup here that I have is Alabama's run game versus Indiana's run game. How do they match up head to head in this game? This one is pretty straightforward in my opinion, as we've already touched on before, and so I'll make it quick. If Bama has any success on the ground, it is a win for Bama, and they most likely win this game in my opinion. Indiana needs to establish a good ground game as a necessity to winning the game in the first place. So I think it's really a battle between these two run games. Which one can outperform the other and by how much? Indiana, if they're going to win, they have to be commanding on the ground. Bama, if they're going to win, they have to establish anything on the ground, in my opinion. Now, moving on from that, we're going to go to my positional power ratings on offense, and then we'll go to defense. As you can see, I have it color-coded here so you guys know who I side more in this one. So coaching, we're going to start with that. And as you can see in the graphic, I've graded the entire position groups. We're going to go into coaching here for the offense. I gave this one to Indiana. The players and, most importantly, the staff is disciplined and all working in lockstep with each other. That's really the phrase that I attribute to Indiana because of the coaching. Everyone is working in lockstep with each other. It starts at the top, goes all the way down to the bottom. OC Mike Shanahan is the top 3 OC in the country, and the positional coaches are really good as well. Kalen DeBoer, who commands and schemes the offense for Alabama, is a great offensive mind in his own right, but I give the slight edge to Indiana in this one. At quarterback, it is clear and obvious that the choice is Mendoza. The Heisman winner bests Ty Simpson in every statistical category except for passing yards, and that's because Bama passes it way more than Indiana does just by numbers and all of that. Because Bama doesn't run the ball well and Indiana does run the ball well. Again, I'm not saying that Simpson is bad in his own right because he's a darn good quarterback and has looked like a first-round quarterback at times this season. But give me Mendoza all day. Running back, this is a tough one for me, and I side with Bama, and this may be a bit of a hot take because I think that the Bama running backs are a lot more talented and skilled than the Indiana running backs, just straight up. I like Jam Miller and Daniel Hill way more than I shouldn't say way more. I would say more than Roman Hemby and Kalen Black. Slightly. Slightly. That's the way I would put it. I slightly favor Jam Miller and Daniel Hill to Roman Hemby and Kalen Black. Again, this was very close. It was, for me at least. But talent-wise and skill-wise, I like Bama's backs slightly more than IU's backs. Wide receiver, you got to go with the Tide with the wide receiver position. Bama's much more deep and talented at wide receiver. You look at Jeremy Bernard, who has over 800 yards and a 71.9 PFF grade, plus 7 touchdowns. You had Lotzar Brooks, the stud freshman, who has a 68.5 PFF grade, really good for a freshman. Isaiah Horton and Ryan Williams rounds out an almost perfect room. Indiana's room's great as well, featuring Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper Jr., Charlie Becker, and EJ Williams Jr. But when I look at the overall talent and depth, I give it to Bama by a decided margin. Tight end, I favor Bama here as well with the dynamic Josh Cuevas at tight end. He has over 375 yards through the air this season, and he's a tremendous blocker as well. And really, Indiana doesn't use their tight end quite as much. Offensive line. Now, this section is dominated by Indiana. Overall, the two lines are in really two different leagues, in my opinion. Indiana's O-line was one of the 3 finalists for the Joe Moore Award and features premium talent all over the line, while Bama's offensive line talented, yes, but struggles in run blocking scheme but it's pretty good in pass pro, but not as good as Indiana. Indiana is just really good all around. And by extension, I also have Indiana having the better pass pro and run blocking unit as well. And finishing out scheme, you have to go with Indiana because that's really tied to coaching. I really should probably get rid of the scheme category. It's right with there with coaching. And then finally, the talent on Bama's roster is really uncanny. This offense is littered with 5 stars and high end 4 stars, and on paper, it's a much more talented roster than Indiana's is. So there's the offensive side of the ball, and now we switch over to the defense. And I went back and forth with a lot of the defense, and I'm gonna tell you why here in just a second. And just looking at the defense, coaching really is a toss up for me. I think that Kane Womack is a great DC, but Bryant Haynes for Indiana is one of the best out there as well. I went with Indiana because the actualization of the coaching, which is the play on the field, favors Indiana more than Bama, but still very, very close in my opinion. True toss up, in my opinion. Defensive line, I'm going to give this one to Bam. I already talked about it before with guys like London Simmons, LT Overton, and Keon Keeley. I love Indiana's D line with Mikhail Kamara, Stephen Daly, Tyreek Tucker, and Mario Landino. But I favor Bama in this matchup here with the defensive line. Linebackers, I think that Indiana has a distinct advantage here with the linebackers. Much to my reasoning with Bama's wide receivers, Indiana's linebackers are just as talented and have way better production metrics when it comes to players such as Aiden Fisher, 75 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Ralaj Hardy, 87 tackles and 8 sacks, leads the team in both categories. And Isaiah Jones, 66 tackles and 7 sacks, presents a unique and difficult challenge for Kalen DeBoer in the Bama offensive unit. Bama presents a great challenge as well with Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, and Nikhil Green. But I do side with Indiana when it comes to the linebackers head to head. Corner, give this one to Indiana as well. D'Angelo Ponzer continues to impress me, as he's only 5'9", but he continues to play well against some of the best receivers in the country, be it at Oregon, Ohio State, or elsewhere. And he has been shut down the entire year. He's been locked down. Devon Boykin and Jamar Sharp also have been excellent this year as well. Safety, give me Bama in a close one. I love Indiana's safeties in Amari Farrell and Louis Moore, but I love Bray Hubbard at strong safety. I think he's the best strong safety in the country, and Keon Sabb at free safety. Tons of talent there for Bama. Pass defense, I give this category to the Tide as they can generate takeaways like the best of them, and the secondary as a whole can play the run really well, which is a plus. Run defense, both these units are great at stopping the run. They're both really high in metrics and whatnot, but projecting slightly into this game as well, I like IU a lot better as their front seven is ferocious. Talent, can't deny it. It's Bama, like we already said, and then scheme, very close to coaching, gotta be IU. So if we're counting up, I favored Indiana slightly on defense and slightly on offense as well. And for special teams, I do favor Indiana there as well. My final prediction for this game is I think that Indiana will control much of this game, but Bama will hang in there. I think that Indiana wins 24-20. I think that Indiana will control much of the clock this game due to their running ability, while Bama will struggle to maintain significant drives. And I think that Bama will make a couple splash plays to keep this one close. But I have to predict Indiana in this one. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. With that being said, I'll see you in the next preview. Okay, so that is it right there, as really don't have too many viewers right now, but that's okay. This is not one for. Yeah, anyway. Not looking for too many views on this one per se, although it would be nice. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to move into we're going to move into now the Cotton Bowl, where we're going to be talking about the Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Okay, sounds good. Here is your starting point, Eddie. Coming off of one of the best defensive masterpieces of the season, the Miami Hurricanes travel west to Arlington, Texas to play the number 2 team in the nation, the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is a unique matchup in many ways, but before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment your score prediction for this game down below. This preview will cover key games. We'll cover key game storylines and player storylines and my positional power ratings at the end of the video, my prediction for this game. So as we get right into it here, as you can see on your screen already, I have the game storylines up on a graphic there for y'all, and y'all have already read it at this point if you're watching this video, and so good on you. But getting into the nuts and bolts of this game, key point number 1, can Miami establish the ground game? Yes, I know that they were able to establish a dominant run game against Texas A&M, but this is the next level of defense, specifically in the front 7 in Ohio State. In most metrics, the Buckeyes D-line and linebackers are at the top of the nation, and it will be really hard for Miami to establish the ground game. But if they can, and once they do, it will be a really good sign for the Canes in this ball game. Key point number 2, how does Ohio State rebound after the devastating loss to Indiana in the Big Ten championship game? This one is pretty easy to follow, as the Buckeyes' last outing was marked with a heartbreaking loss to Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers in the Big Ten championship game 13-10. Ring any bells? Last year, before going into the playoff against Tennessee in the first round, they being Ohio State, lost to Michigan 13-10. So I think that they will come out with some fire under their belt and play with their hair on fire. But a loss like that to Indiana has a bad effect on the morale and swagger of this team for sure. Key point number 3, can Miami keep their momentum going? In this time of year, it is all about momentum. As we saw in the Oklahoma-Alabama game, the momentum shift from Bama being down 17 points to being tied at half was what really won them the game for the Tide. Momentum is everything in these games, and Miami has loads of it right now with that big win against A&M, winning their first playoff game ever, because they have a real chance to prove that the U is finally back if they beat OSU. At the moment right now, all of this energy and the momentum is on the Canes side, but the problem is, can they keep that same momentum and energy throughout the game and during the game? Final point here, can star power lift Ohio State to a win? Ohio State is the pinnacle of star power. Just look at the roster. Julian Sand, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Bo Jackson, Arvell Reed, Sonny Styles, Caden Curry, Caleb Downs, Davison Igbinosin, and I could go on. This team could very easily lean heavy on their stars, just making plays out there and cruising to a win, but they will have to work cohesively in order to get that W versus Miami, because Miami is very even talent-wise on their roster, and they play very cohesively, so you're going to have to match that as well. Okay, so moving on from the game storylines, we're going to look at the player storylines here in this game. In the player storylines, we look at some of these player matchups, unit matchups that I want to highlight. Point number 1 is Miami's D-line versus Ohio State's offensive line. This may be one of the most intriguing matchups of the entire round. Miami's defensive line is full of studs, as they sacked Marcel Reed 7 times in the first round game against Texas A&M. On the season, the D-line has accumulated many TFLs, sacks, and overall tackles. On the other side, the Ohio State offensive line has struggled at times this season, and there's no denying that for really how talented they are. Players such as Carson Hinsman and Luke Montgomery are really good and consistent players, but players such as Tegra Tishabala have been wildly inconsistent this year. Point number 2 here is Ohio State's wide receivers versus the Miami secondary. I don't even need to get started with all the weapons that Ohio State has. With Carnell Tate, Brandon Inniss, and Jeremiah Smith, the Buckeyes sport the best wide receiver core in the nation. But what people may not know too much about is Miami's secondary. They shut down Texas A&M's receivers like they were a bunch of D2 receivers, and their wide receiver core is one of the best in the nation in their own right, with Craver and Casey Concepcion as well. This secondary went from the worst in 2024 to the best this season, with Keontae Scott, Bryce Fitzgerald, and Zachariah Poyser. This is one of the best secondaries in the country, and they all work together as a unit because that's what their defense is built on, and we'll talk about defensive coaching later in the video. Point number 3, will either team be able to kick a field goal? Like, all kidding aside, Miami's kicker struggled immensely, going 1 for 4 versus Texas A&M. I get it, there's a lot of wind, but nevertheless, he went 1 for 4 as a kicker. And Ohio State's kicker, Fielding, missed the game-tying field goal versus Indiana. That really would have helped them out if he would have kicked that 30-some yard field goal. Being indoors will help out Miami's kicker and Ohio State's kicker by proxy as well, but both better figure it out really quick. Point number 4, Fletcher versus the Ohio State linebackers. Mark Fletcher poses a unique challenge to the linebackers with his unique blend of downhill power and breakaway speed. Those linebackers are some of the best in the league at closing space, so this should be a fun battle to watch within the game. Now onto my positional power ratings. This is just straight up head to head who has the edge when it comes to each individual position on the football field. And you can see I have it color coded really distinctly for you in this one. Coaching, I'm gonna have to go with Ohio State because with Brian Hartline's scheme and tactics, Ryan Day, who's calling the plays since Hartline left to go be the head coach at USF, only has to really just guide the ship because they have been clicking all season long. And it's because of the coaching on the offensive side of the ball, really. So I have to go with Ohio State for that one. At quarterback, I like Julian Sayin a lot more than Beck. Sayin is a special type of talent, and Beck has a bit of a rocky history over his extensive college career, although he has been playing way better recently. At running back, I think that Ohio State decidedly has this. No, sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. I have Miami getting this one. Um I really like Mark Fletcher Jr. Very obvious from the way I've been talking about him, and um I really like their backup Charmar Brown as well, transferring from North Dakota State, as they have accumulated vast amounts of yards this whole season. And I really do like James Peoples and Bo Jackson as well. On the other side, this one was very much a coin flip for me, but just out of recency bias, I really do like the way that Miami runs the ball as well. At wide receiver, this isn't even a contest, as the trio of Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Inniss is the best in college football. Tight end, I give this edge to Ohio State as well, with Max Clare, who has about 450 yards receiving this season and is a great advantage for the Buckeyes. Offensive line, the whole offensive line, both run blocking and pass pro, is advantage Miami in my opinion. The Canes have built this roster from the trenches out, and it shows big time. Francis Mauigwa at tackle is a top 5 draft pick and the best tackle in the nation according to my estimation, and James Brockenmeyer is a great center in his own right. We've already talked about Ohio State's O-line as they are pretty talented, but they have inconsistent play at times. Scheme Miami. Miami's got a plan and they stick to it. Downhill running, setting up easy passes for Carson Beck to, throw. Really easy to predict them, and they stick to their plan. They have a firm identity and scheme on offense for better or for worse. And then talent goes to Ohio State. Pretty obvious there. And then we're going to move on to the defense here as soon as I can switch this. Here we go. Coaching, I give it to Miami here. Both coaching and scheme go to Miami. I'm going to do them both here, as Corey Heatherman is, in my opinion, one of the top defensive coordinators in the country who has brought an energy and a spark to the already talented Miami defense. Defensive line, a bit of a toss-up here. Really, a bit of a toss-up here. But I'm taking the Canes here. Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, the two edge rushers, combined this year for 16 sacks. David Blay and Ahmad Morton Jr. make up one of the best defensive lines in the country. Don't get me wrong. I think that Ohio State is as good as anyone. That's why I said it was a toss-up here at this category. But I think that Miami plays with an edge that seems really extraordinary to me. Linebacker, really no question, it has to go to OSU here. Are you kidding me? Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, and Peyton Pierce are hands down the best in the country at the linebacker position. Corner, gonna go out with OSU here as well. Ohio State, they've come out and surprised me. I thought that corner was going to be the weak spot in this roster. Davison Igbinosun has really cleaned up his play substantially from last year, and Jermaine Matthews Jr. is an up-and-coming star as well. Really, he already is a star. Safety, really another toss-up here, and this is a bit controversial, but I'm going to go with Miami. Keontae Scott, Xavier Lucas, and Bryce Fitzgerald are otherworldly talented, and they play together. And thus, with the depth in this room, I give Miami the edge. Very tough because one of the best defenders in the country is one of the safeties for the Bucks in Caleb Downs. And that's all I have on that end. Obviously, talent goes to Ohio State because Ohio State is the most talented team in the country, in my opinion. And here's my prediction. I think that Ohio State will rally just as they did last season after a crushing loss in the regular season. And I think Ohio State's going to come out and play with their hair on fire. I think they're going to win 27-20. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, comment your thoughts down below, comment your score prediction down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. End point right there. And that is it for those as well. Looks like there is really no one in this live stream, so I'm going to go ahead and end it, and I will see you guys in the next one.